Darius, how you doing?
Blessed, black, beautiful, and highly favored.
Okay, all right. That's the way to wake the people up. Blessed, black, beautiful, and highly favored. I
Yes, sir.
love it. You're also helping out blessed, black, beautiful, and highly favored young students. Tell me
Yeah.
about how you're feeling with these first few months of the Learning Hub.
Um, I think, to be honest, with you, AJ, my issue is that oftentimes I'm my biggest critic. I just got a call earlier this morning from the director of DPR here in DC,
Mhm.
and he was talking about how he had connected with some of the principals for the students that we work with. And I'm like having this like cringe moment for a second because I'm like, oh my gosh, we're not where I want us to be. But he was just saying, the praises that Good Projects has gotten across the city for the work that we've been doing in the Learning Hub. No, that's just a testament to the standard of excellence that we have here as an organization. If our kids don't have 4.0s, we don't see that as success. But for the most part, since we got started, we've been an amazing resource, not just to the students, but to their families as well.
But that's crucial for Black students. We've got to hold our students to, a higher academic standard and show
Uh,
them the way. And I think that, the Good Zone, the Good Project Learning Hub that you're, orchestrating right now is one thing that we need to highlight right now in students and how they're facing these problems in school with the pandemic, with the distance learning, difficult and the distractions that they're facing, and how you guys are kind of playing a bridge to that and helping them along the way. So can you just tell me what the Learning Hub has been doing the last few months and with the students that you guys kind of taken in?
well, in many ways, been subsidizing for the students that attend every day. DCPS made a decision at the start of the school year that they were going to remain virtual. But if you know about the population that Good Projects works with, we work with the most vulnerable families here in the district, possibly around the country.
Yeah.
You have hundreds of families that live in the Southwest housing community that are living not just in poverty, but extreme poverty. So when the decision is made that schools are going to remain virtual, there's things that you have to factor in. First, how are students going to eat, first and foremost? Let's start there, and then you continue up. How are they going to be supported emotionally? And then we start to get into the education piece, going back to that high standard that we want to set for our students. So at the Learning Hub, we've been a little bit of everything for our students and our families. We provide meals every day. We're overstaffed at times to ensure that every student there has an adult that cares about them, that they can connect with on a daily basis. But then we also have an amazing team here at Good Projects that's in constant communications with the families. And as we look to 2021, trying to find ways that we're not just looking to the future with our students, but we're looking to the now with our parents. How do we get them prepared for the new job force that's been created? How do we make it so that they can be a part of the thriving economy that even through a crisis like this year, DC is still experiencing? So we've been a little bit of everything for everybody this year.
So you're clearly dedicated, as your mission states, to getting these students out of poverty, taking these families out of these situations. But it's not just with a kind of economic sort of poverty, but also giving them food, giving them educational resources, mental health,
Yeah.
and kind of creative outlets and resources. How did that come about with this community in particular? Why Southwest?
Well, it was a long engaged process, and one that started all the way back in 2017. We have an amazing relationship with the Ford Foundation, and I'm proud to call Darren Walker, the CEO, one of my mentors. And on a conversation that we had, he challenged me. He said, "I love the work that you all are doing. Obviously, we'll continue to support you, but I see something in you guys. I think that you have the ability to create generational impact that will outlive all of us. Where you see typically in the philanthropy space, all we're doing is just putting out fires all day or thinking about the here and the now. We want it to be a future-based program." So we began the process of developing what has now become known as the Good Zone Initiative, which is a place-based model. That doesn't just say we're going to offer one thing, but we're going to offer everything to a specific set of families in a specific geographical area, working towards the goal of transitioning all of them to a place where they can be self-sufficient over a specific set of time. For us, that's translated into transitioning 500 families that are living in the Southwest housing community into self-sufficiency by the year 2030. And when you look at Southwest, you know, I was just eating breakfast with my grandparents this morning, and they haven't left the house much during COVID. But I guess they decided to go down to the wharf here in DC over the weekend, and they were like, I don't recognize anything down there.
Yeah,
Well, they're not alone.
That's the new, right? That's the last 2 years. You think it's something completely different from what you and me and you grew up with.
Yeah, 100%. And that's my grandparents just traveling around, but we forget that Southwest has one of the largest densities of poverty, not just here in the district, but in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Several hundred families that live between James Creek, Southwick's Gardens, Greenleaf Seniors, and the apartment buildings around there that are heavily subsidized by the government.
When you talk about poverty, you hit it right on the nail. Lowest in the country.
Yeah. Well, you know, the federal government defines poverty of an income of around $25,000 for a family of four. When you look at the Southwest housing community, the average income is closer to $14,000, which is why I say we're not just talking about families that are living in poverty. We're talking about families that are living in extreme poverty. It's important to be deliberate. And how do we ensure that they're not just getting employment, that they're fully able to participate in the community that's being developed around them?
So where does education come into this plan? It's an amazing model, an amazing mission, but this year looks extremely different for everyone in the country, whether you go to school,
Certainly.
No matter what industry you're in. So how did you guys take these 500 families and implement a learning hub to help the students?
Well, there's a lot of negatives that you can look at in 2020, but the positives that, you know, we want to continue to focus on is that COVID has provided the great equalizer. You know, you have everybody sitting at home, and for maybe the first time in at least my lifetime, we all realized that we're all in this together. You know, but what COVID also did was really shift the way that people work. It created new sets of jobs. You know, DC as a place, we have Amazon headquarters that are being built, but then also these shipping centers that are happening all around the city. It provided unique opportunities, you know, and for those that are willing and able and innovative and motivated, you can take advantage of them. So, you know, where a lot of nonprofit organizations in 2020 were kind of sitting on their hands and maybe wallowing a bit, we started staffing up. We hired more, we raised more money, because we wanted to put ourselves in a position to best support our families going into 2021. The history of Good Projects is really rooted in the work that we did with the Department of the Juvenile Rehabilitation Department here in the city. That's where we started. That was our first major program, where you're working with kids 16, 17, 18, 19 years old who have really grown up in the juvenile justice system. And I appreciate that time for us because, you know, it really shows you what happens to a young person if you don't make that investment into them early. And, you know, what we've continued to do and challenge in DCPS and, you know, the council members and, you know, agencies all over the city is to understand the importance of making the investments in the youth now. You know, and I'm not just talking about into their math and reading, more so into their emotional supports as well.
Why has that been so much of you guys' mission?
Because, you know, we get a lot of credit for the work that we do on the youth space. But I think it misses a lot that we are a family-focused organization. You know, obviously, when you're a single mom, underemployed, maybe undereducated, you have 3 or 4 children in your household, you know, how could you ever think about, you know, getting yourself up on your feet and out of public housing if your children aren't being taken care of? You know, you talk to, we all have moms, you know, we all have aunts, we all have grandmothers. And you know, a lot of the times they're not even talking about themselves. They're always talking about us as their kids. And people that are living in poverty are no different. They're so heavily invested into their children's future that oftentimes they forget about themselves. What we try to do is be that kind of bridge and say, okay, you know, if only for a few hours a day, let us worry about your children so that you can focus on growing yourself. Because if you build yourself up, you can be an even better support for your children.
What type of feedback are you getting from the kids' parents? I was reading the DCist article, and some of the parents that were interviewed there were saying they don't even want to send their kids back to school, that the hub is what's saving their young children, and that it's all about you all now.
Well, I read the DCS article as well. And I appreciate the support that Good Projects gets as a community-based organization. But one thing that's really important for us is that, we are on a trajectory to 2030. And our goal as an organization is to not become a pillar in the community. And I'll say that kind of, people cringe at this moment. Right. No, I say that because, our goal is to support the individuals and the organizations that come from the community. Good Projects is a catalyst of change. The public school and charter school system in the district has billions of dollars that flow through it in any period of time. We have a budget of around $3 million that we try to stretch as far as we can. As an organization, we'll continue to do as much as we can with the resources that God blesses us with, but success for our organization doesn't happen if we're not able as a community and as individuals in the community to believe in the public and charter school education system. So, I saw that and I appreciate that parent. But Good Projects wants to be an example for DCPS of how they can operate. They have much more space than us, much more resources, and we are not in competition with them. We are, every single day, we have teachers that get online and we hear, they have 20, 25 kids online, some of which, just like we're having our struggles today, they're dealing with all of these different things, but they get on and they do their best to educate children. I wouldn't dare knock anything that school system is doing with the uphill battle that they're faced with.
The nationwide dilemma is whether or not we should let our kids back into schools. Should we open schools for students? So you guys are a bridge right now, but in next semester in 2021, maybe even 2022, we might need Good Projects, a Good Zone, and a Learning Hub. And what do you say to that?
We'll be here, and if not a Learning Hub, it's healthcare screenings. If not healthcare screenings, is, making sure that families have food during the holidays. What, again, it's taking it back. We're a resource. What I love about our team is that we're always willing to be agile in how we best support our communities. If it comes down to it, obviously we've already made a commitment as an organization to keep the Learning Hub open for next semester, and then made a commitment into the summer as well as far as what programming we're doing. But if that means that we have to take it into 2022, because that's what the community calls for, then we'll do it.
Wow. Your commitment to this community is really touching for me as a native and still a member of the Southwest community,
Appreciate
15, 20 years ago, I was that young child who, if I was facing a pandemic, would need a learning hub. And, the Greenleaf Recreation Center. And like you said, the James Creeks, the Southwest Gardens, that's all my neighboring community within blocks and feet and steps away from my home. So I really do appreciate the work that you're doing right now. When I read the stat about the household income and how impoverished some of my neighbors are and some of the kids are and how down some of them are, and I saw how you all were helping, I had to reach out to you. I had to speak with you and see what the mission of this organization is. And it's so profound. I can't even wrap my head around it right now. But I really do appreciate you. I really do. My special guest, Darius Baxter, the co-founder of Good Projects DC, dedicated to bringing families up out of poverty. And he's doing it in the Good Zone in Southwest DC, whether it's 2021, 2022, and beyond, he'll be there helping our students achieve. And I really do appreciate you. Is there anything else you wanted to say or that we didn't touch on today?
No, man, I think it's been an excellent interview. I'm really impressed by you, AJ. As somebody that came up in the Southwest community, we'd love to have you come and get involved. Our kids need real life examples. So
the last thing I want to say is I want to thank you not only for the educational services and the benefits that you're giving to these students and helping them up out of poverty and showing them a way and giving them a positive role model, but also creating a safe space for them to go with your extracurricular activities and mental health services, and making them feel like they are somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do with these students at this point in time. Make them have confidence, give them the confidence and the positive images that Good Projects is doing. So I really do appreciate you, and we'll definitely work together. Thank you so much.
No, 100% AJ. And I think you hit on the most important thing. It was Brian Stevenson that said, the opposite of poverty is not wealth. The opposite of poverty is justice. As we march forward to 2030, we'll get a lot of credit for the amount of income that we create in Southwest. But, the most important thing is that we're changing mindsets. We live in America, wealthiest, most innovative country in the history of the world. Anything is possible here, particularly living in the nation's capital. So looking at young men like yourself, can only imagine you talk about being a walk-on in Indiana and have a crystal stare in life. But, you had that courage and that drive to just keep pushing forward. So the more that people can look at young men like yourself and I that overcame things and see where we are now, I think the better off this country will be. So I'm really excited. I appreciate you for thinking enough of our organization to bring us on your show today.
That was very well said. I thank you for the kind words. And anything is possible when you change that mindset, just like you said.